Hi all. This is a video demonstration for Prisma Cloud rule ordering, specifically on the runtime security aspect of the product. Now, at the time of this recording, um, this is an entirely separate section of the product, and I imagine this will get moved into a different area of the product. But at least for today, the way to construct a policy is to lay them out from a top-down perspective. And one thing to call out is the scope. So what you want to do is make sure that your scope will order such that it will apply to your scope before it will apply to something above, as long as that's the desired implementation. Um, Here I've given you the example of this the scope for this is all. This is essentially the default rule. So I wanted to make sure I called that out because in this case, my rule at the very bottom that applies to my instances won't ever take place because these instances also fall into the scope of all. So to fix that, what I could do is just take this button over here on the right under the order column and drag it to where I need it to go. Changes take place immediately. But I wanted to show that so that you can see how that's managed from a administrative standpoint. Now these scopes can actually be controlled and selected. They can be selected in the individual policy, but if you click on it, you can actually select what is in scope for this rule. Now in this case I have LAN's AWS accounts and LAN's EC2 instances. I've called out a specific AWS account, and I've called out specific hosts in the that are under defense in the system. I can also add a new collection, and you can see the various different things. Since I'm in a host runtime policy, I'm only showing you the criteria that's available for a host policy. So I can look at VM tags, OS distribution version labels, hosts, accounts, things of that nature. If I back out of that, we have the same sort of policy construction on images, containers, serverless as well. I've done the same thing here just to show you that here my images, LAN's images, are down here below the default rule. I can move that up to make sure that it actually gets hit. Just showing you the concept of a shadow happening. You can also click to see what are the entities in scope. In this case, I don't actually have any entities in scope, but if I did, they would show up there. But to look at that collection, I can go ahead and just open up the policy and click on the collection like I did before. And here I've actually specified images, and you can use wildcards to determine, which ones will qualify for that particular rule. So just to look at this collection, you'll see that now I also have some other areas that open up. Like if I have a container label that I've placed on specific things, I can make those apply to this policy. I can also restrict things from specific registries or even repositories inside of registries. I can also get specific to image names and maybe certain tags. You can do that here. You can also call out specific containers or container clusters. Yeah, so that gives you an idea of how you can define scope for a policy, and that sort of rule architecture is consistent throughout the product, and you can do that for things like vulnerabilities for functions in this example, or vulnerabilities for images. Yeah, so that should give you a brief understanding of, or at least a basic understanding of, how rules are constructed in Prisma Cloud. Thanks a lot.